aware of a lot of rainy situations and some gusty winds and a tropical storm making a landfall in North Carolina this morning. So we're definitely going to cover all of that. Ophelia is the tropical storm that I'm speaking of that made a landfall this morning. I'm trying to remember, I think it was, I got lost on the time if it was, I think it's 7:15 Eastern time. Might have been 6:15 Eastern time. I was trying to remember, was it Houston time or Eastern time that I saw that? But it made landfall for sure on Saturday morning as a tropical storm, Ophelia, in North Carolina. And then we also have another named storm that's out there as of 4 p.m. this afternoon, as a matter of fact. Philippe is now on the board as well as a named storm. That was a tropical depression, and it was upgraded with that 4 p.m. So real quick, I just want to let you know there is a new tropical wave to talk about, just coming in off of the coast of Africa. Still very disorganized, but continuing to move towards some more favorable conditions. Again, this is where Philippe is, but that same area where Philippe developed, it looks like in a 3 to 7 day time frame, we could see our next system sort of get out there and get formed a little bit. We'll talk about names here in just a moment. So getting back to kind of our lead story that we want to focus on, and that, of course, is Tropical Storm Ophelia. Still a tropical storm right now, maximum sustained winds at 40 miles an hour, but soon to lose its tropical characteristics as well as those speeds, because remember, whether it's a tropical storm or a tropical depression or a hurricane, it's pretty much all about wind speed. So right now, those sustained winds are still sitting at 40 miles an hour, which does keep it a tropical storm, at least for now. This is the 4 p.m. update that we've received from the National Hurricane Center. So you could kind of see that path where it's been moving across the Carolinas, now moving into Virginia, and we'll see that it does look like once it gets into Sunday in the afternoon, that'll be downgraded to a depression, and then probably beginning to sort of lose all of its strength altogether once we get into early on Monday morning. And Hurricane Center not even giving a forecast past this, as far as this is the end of their forecast cone right now, at least, of Monday at 1 a.m. Probably a depression still at that point, or beginning to lose some of its, as I mentioned, its tropical characteristics. But if you're over on the East Coast, again, you're probably well aware of what's happening across the area, and we'll continue to see that moving. So quick look at one of our computer models here where we see still at this point, I think the storm surge and the storm surge and those strong winds, not as much of a threat. It could still create some problems for sure, but it's the rainfall that we're most concerned with at this point moving forward. There were certainly some other threats prior to now, but at this point, we're focused on that rainfall and the accumulation of that, and you could see that expected rainfall even moving up. What we talked about Monday early morning when the Hurricane Center would be finished issuing its advisories, or at least its forecast cone, still dropping quite a bit of rain, moving more up towards New England at this point into the Northeast. So zipping back out real quick, we'll talk about Philippe as it is going to continue to move across the Atlantic, and we get to Wednesday morning, and we've seen that westerly track, for the most part, a westerly track. But once we get into Wednesday morning, all our models indicating that it becomes much more of a northerly track that it will begin to follow. And that means that we're not expecting this to make a U.S. landfall. And you can see that at this point, at least. And you can see that here from the official forecast track from the National Hurricane Center moving out tomorrow afternoon. Not a lot of movement as far as the speed goes. It's currently moving at around 14 miles an hour, but we jump ahead and continuing to watch as we move through time. Thursday, we're looking at just below that hurricane. So this could certainly become a hurricane, but at this point, it's going to be a strong tropical storm, and we'll just have to see how the conditions sort of lay themselves out as far as if it has that ability to kind of develop into it. So far, remember, we did have a storm that didn't actually receive a name, but it was considered a tropical storm back in January. So I haven't added that on the list here because technically they didn't get a name on it. They would have if they hadn't have recognized it sort of post. So 17 is really what we've had so far this year. 6 hurricanes and we've seen 3 of those as major hurricanes. The average is 14, 7, and 3, so we're certainly in that above average range, and we're getting closer where we might even be able to add another hurricane in there if Philippe is able to do that. So Philippe is that last name that we've checked on the list. Rena is going to be what's up next as if we continue to see that development out in the Atlantic, a possibility. Always glad you found us here on YouTube. Again, a quick reminder, of course, we're here every day of hurricane season, whether it's quiet like what we saw earlier in August or very active like what we've seen in September. If you want to follow me on some other social media, that'd be fantastic. Here on YouTube, it's easiest if you'll search meteorologist John Dawson instead of John Dawson Fox 26. So if you want to see my YouTube page where I've got all my hurricane gear tests, that would be fantastic. Again, it's search for meteorologist in YouTube. Search for meteorologist John Dawson, and you can track me down. Hey, have a great Saturday. We'll be back here again tomorrow with another update on the tropics.